What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Imperfect Action Show, where we talk to 6, 7, and 8-figure entrepreneurs about their journey, some lessons they learned, some things in terms of principles to take away from their specific business, what they do in their fields. We also go over strategies and obstacles. I'm Stizzo Speaks. Brendan Boyd is not here, as you can see, so I am the co-host for him today, and I'm super excited to be here. We have an amazing guest, and I'm excited about this in particular because marketing and strategies for systems is one of those things that we all need in our businesses to be successful. So I'm really excited to be talking to Steve today about what he's doing currently in his business to help other entrepreneurs, 6, 7, 8-figure earners really max out. So welcome again. I'm glad you all are here. It's going to be an amazing episode. Make sure you got your questions loaded, and we're going to go ahead and get our guest on for today. So join me in welcoming Steve to the episode.
Hello, how are you? How's everybody?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing great.
Thank you for being here. Happy to have you.
Thank you all for inviting me. I'm excited. To get to the content today.
That's right. Me too. So talk to us, tell our guests a little bit about you and what you do. Again, as I mentioned, y'all, this is Steve. So I'm going to let him give himself an amazing intro as to what he does right now in his business.
Okay, well, I'm Steve Dansby, as you can see probably on the screen. So I run a marketing agency. I'm based out of Houston, Texas. We specialize in e-commerce brands and scaling e-commerce brands specifically. Also co-founder in another business that helps to scale particular e-commerce brands as well. So 2 separate agencies I'm a part of. And we also run Amazon and Facebook automation done for you stores as well. So between those 3, that's what keeps me busy. All of them are tied, of course, to e-commerce, which is my favorite thing on earth. I think it's the great equalizer, meaning anyone can win in e-commerce. I really believe that, and I've seen it happen. So that's what I do, and that's pretty much, I try to give you a high level without getting too techie with it, but that's what I do.
Right. And we'll get into a little bit of tech, because the viewers, including myself, might want to know some of these things that are, we don't understand. It's not our language, right? But in talking about e-commerce, because I know for me, I see a lot of posts or a lot of people on social media who are successful with e-commerce. And then the opposite side of that is I see a lot of people who want to jump right into e-commerce because they're seeing that success on Instagram, and they may not know what it takes to get there or really what e-commerce means. So talk to us a little bit about how you got interested in e-commerce. What is e-commerce, and how does that, impact business that you currently have?
Okay, so I guess we rewind back a few years. Originally, I started off in web development. So my degree is in computer information systems. So I decided, eventually I wanted to start a web development company on the side when I was still at my 9 to 5. So I would develop websites for people back in a time where, most people weren't building their own website. So I would do that for a lot of local businesses. And that was good for probably the first 2 years or so. I kind of got away from it. We still do provide web development, but it's not our premier service. But some people obviously in e-commerce are going to need web development or redesign, depending on what's going on with the store. But what was happening is it was very hard for me to systemize, not the process of building a website, but you may have a website. We deliver that website to you. It looks beautiful, and you can thank you. You give me a great review, and then you go on about your day. But, with other business types, it was, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 revisions of a website. And even if, you're charging for that review, it still becomes a project that the scope can kind of get out of control, meaning it should take 2 weeks, but now it's taking 3 months, right? So I kind of didn't like that piece of it. And I wanted to get more into the business side of being online as well, not just the tech. I can make this site look good, but no, I wanted to develop, sites that help you actually earn money, help your business grow, not just look good. So I started to study online marketing. And the first thing I studied was affiliate marketing, where I found out that you could actually promote a product or a service that wasn't yours and get paid for it, which for me was mind blowing because I had never heard of anything like that, outside of maybe network marketing, but that was a little different. I literally could get someone to buy something that never knew anywhere around the world, and I could get a percentage of it. So I really started studying that. And what I learned from that was copy. And I learned a lot of the marketing that I know now really from affiliate marketing. I went to several conferences back to probably 2017 was where I really started going to at least 2 or 3 a year. And I would go up to ask people, these people who were selling these products as owners and then also as affiliates, creating like amazing lives for themselves where they're working from home making 6 figures. And I'm like, wait a minute, you make 6 figures helping people sell candles or dog food? Like, how is this even possible? So I had to really like dig into it to see what was going on. And what I found is that the marketing aspect is really what was driving everything. And that's how you would get affiliate sales, and not to turn this to affiliate marketing, but that's how you would get people to buy. But that doesn't change in any business. It's how you angle and frame something that makes people want to buy it, right? So why do people buy, smart water versus just water that's labeled from the local corner store, right? So you have to market it in a way that it looks and postures itself as more pure, valuable, and healthier for that person. So that got my mind into really wanting to understand that skill set, because I knew two things. I knew if I could get that skill set down, someone would need me forever. Someone, whether I had to change niches, industries, if I knew how to structure things online to help you sell better, I would be able to earn a living. So I said, okay, I got to understand that piece. The other piece is I just had never seen anyone be able to legally make that type of money in that short period of time in anything outside of online marketing, internet marketing, and affiliate marketing. So to me, like, it just threw my whole paradigm off, right? So that's what got me into it. So from there, I said, okay, now I want to get into e-commerce, because really I want to help people make money via their own personal website. So I had to start going through and see what types of businesses do I want to work with. And I kept going through niche to niche, industry to industry, to kind of see what, not necessarily what spoke to me, but what I knew I could get into and help somebody with right away. And eventually I kind of accidentally stumbled upon the beauty, cosmetic, skincare industry, women's hair care. I have sisters, mother, I have a wife. So I kind of see these products and I said, you know what? If they don't buy anything else, they'll buy these products, right? Like, things have to be really bad for them not to buy this certain type of product. So I said, why don't I stay in this niche, help people who have good products in this niche, help them bring that product to the internet and show them how to sell. So a lot of times we have these people that are either local or maybe they even have started a website, and the product itself is amazing. It's an amazing product, probably better than most products on shelves. They just don't know how to position it in a way that makes people want to buy from them. So to answer your question, I'll get back to your question too, and why people, when they start off, struggle versus the people that are successful. Well, all of the people that I've seen that are successful, they take the approach of, this is a business, a brand. The same approach that you would take if you went and bought a physical store down the street in a strip mall. You would approach that store a certain way, because you wouldn't got a lease. You're going to have rent, light bill. So you're serious and approaching the store that way. If you take the same approach with the online store, that typically that person is going to be successful, because what people do is they think, well, if it's all online, I can just throw up a site, put my products on, and magic happens.
Right.
And people just start buying. And that's not how it works. So that's kind of my transition to how I ended up in e-commerce and the niches that I ended up helping people be successful in. I've had right now, I think 4 clients that I've worked with have all surpassed 7 figures online. And when I started working with them, they were anywhere between, on average, $8,000 to $12,000 a month in revenue. So they were doing pretty good, but I was able to help them get to what I call lifestyle changing income, not bling blingy type income. I mean, time freedom, where, oh, hey, a lot of my clients have children. They can take off of work if there's an emergency. They can take them. I have a client that, takes her sons into Greece and things like this for vacation, to where they can expose themselves, all by just selling these simple services and products. So that's really the fulfillment part for me, watching that transition from people being able to do that for themselves and families. Some people, I've worked with people who have family members with disabilities. Now they're able to help out with medical bills. So it for me, that's the fulfilling part of it. But it's really, honestly, not as difficult as you think once you get past the structural part. And I'll go into that, but I want to let you ask the questions that you want to ask.
No, you're good. That was a great explanation. And you brought up a couple of great points. One being, and I love this analogy, like brick and mortar store, right? You have your rent or your lease, but you put up, posters on the window. There's, promo on the shelves for product. There's signage everywhere. And I have a retail background, so I'm very familiar, and that's relatable for me. But when you talk about a website, there's people who think they can just load the product on a website. It's going to sit there and sell itself. Similar to like someone who has an ebook, I think about, like you have an ebook that you want to sell. You put the ebook on Gumroad or a platform and you don't market it. It's not going to move. You have to have that marketing behind it. So that was so great that you said that, for anyone who's sitting at home watching and they're like, I have this fantastic product and I have a website, but I need more. I need to make it like it's a brick and mortar. Like my website needs to feel like a Bloomingdale's, a Nordstrom, so that I can get the traction and the foot traffic to the website as much as you would want it to be walking through your door. So I thought that was amazing and well put. And I love that women, in a sense, inspired this journey for you, because I have a makeup background. So when you said that, I was like, yep, recession, hair products, skincare products, the women's things. We make it through recession.
Sorry to interrupt you. The funny part about that is, so my wife was in skincare for 10 years before I started in e-commerce. So just by, this is even before we were married, just by kind of seeing it out the corner of your eye and seeing how often these people repurchase the same product, how particular they were about what's important to them. So I had picked this information up over the years, just kind of by osmosis, but not really intending to do anything. But when I actually started applying this to ad campaigns and social media posts, I was able to help people, show people how they can approach their stores and shops in a way that's going to help themselves. So one of the first things is, I call it like the reverse effect. So most of the time, when people start marketing, they say, okay, let's say I'm selling hairspray. I'm going to tell you everything about the hairspray that makes the hairspray amazing. But what they don't consider is, what do your customers want out of a hairspray? That's where you should start. So when you know that, the first thing I would do is I would start doing research online. I'm saying, if I was going to start a company that would just use hairspray, for an example, let's say it's all natural hairspray. The first thing I'm going to look is, what are the top 5, 10 complaints for women that buy hairspray? And what are the top 5 and 10 pros, meaning the things they love, right? And so what I'm going to do, even is detailed to my product description, I'm going to do things like, don't have to worry about, that's where my research comes in. Everything you hate, I'm going to put it, what you don't have to worry about there. Everything you love, I'm going to put in the product description. So if you hate that it has a certain smell. I mean, you don't have to worry about that pungent smell on your hair all day long. So I'm putting this in the product description as you're reading, you're like, I hate that. So psychologically, you're already thinking like, you ever read a product, you go, how do they know that I was thinking that?
Yeah.
So we're studying what the person doesn't want, and then you're also studying what they would prefer. So now when I know this, I can even go to my entire store, my line of products, even if I have just 3 products, and say, all of my marketing angles are going to be around what they like, what they don't like. So that's one thing, in audience interest. Second one is your demographic. So the funny thing too is a lot of people think that if you do a product, you can have a luxury product, but you don't have to have a luxury product. You can have a product that's for the masses and still make a killing. But you have to understand if it's for a certain household income or for a lower household income. And you have to understand what appeals to each offer. Right. So some people, if it's luxury, they probably do want to see an ad presented in a certain way. If it's a $45 product that works really well, that's more so for the mass median income to lower income, then one of the things that people don't understand is even your ads, when you see an ad on Instagram or Facebook, sometimes we've split tested this before. If you take one with a videographer, have the videographer shoot the ad, perfect sound, perfect imagery, you put your caption under there, and you split test it versus someone with a cell phone shooting a video telling you about how amazing the product is, the cell phone video will do better because it comes across as more authentic than the big production videographer shot.
Right.
But that's something that you won't know if you don't study the audience, because some people look at that and they go, that's an ad, right? And so they just keep scrolling. But if they see something that's funny or that's interesting and they go, it looks like a post, and then by the time they've seen the post, like, oh, this is a product, you've got a much better conversion rate. So these are the things that, and this is, I'm using this product, but this applies to services. This applies to any e-commerce brand, understanding your demographic. Who are you marketing to? You can become a billionaire and only talk to 10% of the US population. The other 90% be completely irrelevant, right? You can make millions of dollars and be in, the puppy dog training niche, right? For it's low to something like, training puppies in Alaska. Things like that. You go, well, that's crazy. And then you go look at the demographic and goes, oh, there's only 2 people that do that. And if you become the best in that niche, you corner that market and you make a ton of money. So those are the things that we tell people. Don't just say, I'm going to sell this product. I feel like I want to sell, headbands, or I feel like I want to sell hair, or I feel like I want to sell certain skincare. Okay, if you do want to get in that niche, how are you going to get in that niche? What is your brand going to be about? So that it's not just, do you want somebody to buy from you today, or do you want somebody to buy from you for the next 5 years? If you just want it today, you can go for that right now ad. But if you want to build a brand around the company to where they know, like, trust the brand, to where now you've sold your headline premier product, but all your ancillary products you'll find will start to sell if you become a brand and not just a one-off. So those are a couple of things that I try to give actionable advice rather than just kind of fluff. So I'm trying to give you guys an insight into how we look at things.
Yeah, no, that's great. And so for when you're looking for clients, or, filtering through clients that you want to work with, what are like the top, I would say the top 2, let's just do top 2 for sake of not doing 3. What are the top 2 challenges that you look for in a client, if this is how you systematically set up who you want to work with, and or what is your process in terms of determining the type of client that you want to work with?
Good question. So the I would say probably the number one thing I look for is a client that has a product that's already proven and has social proof. So we know this product works. Maybe it has, 5 to 10 testimonials. several video testimonials, a ton of social proof that it works. We have proof of sales, meaning you've sold a certain amount of product already, right? So let's say you're selling $5,500 worth of product a month, but you're capping here. You know the product works, but you can't break through the market. So that type of client is usually the ideal client, because all we're doing in that scenario is we want to find more of what's working. So this is not something where we're going in and trying to change a product, change a business model. It's something that's already working, but they're having difficulty scaling. So when it comes to scaling, they're saying, I don't know how to earn more without dumping too much money in ads and then end up breaking even, right? That's the complaint you hear. Or I don't know. I think I should start running ads, but I don't know the first place to start running ads. But see, when people think of scaling, the first thing they think they have to do is run ads, and that's not always the truth. I mean, most people aren't even email marketing correctly. Right. So on average, when we work with the client, on average, they'll increase their store revenue by 15% just from email marketing. That's not including abandoned text message marketing. That's not including abandoned email marketing. That's just from daily email marketing. So you'll have people that may have 5, 6, 7. I had a client have 15,000 email contacts that he wasn't emailing.
Wow.
Now, if you think about that, they say, well, I don't think email marketing works. No, email marketing works. And the system that we use will actually tell you how much revenue each email that you sent out generates. So but that awareness of saying, okay, the first thing we're going to do is squeeze all of the revenue we can out of what you have organically. And then you can start to scale on an ad platform, depending on what type of product you have. It may be TikTok, it could be Instagram. It could be YouTube ads, but it depends on the product and what is working on each one of those platforms. But yeah, so those are some of the things we look at. Something that's already working is proven. They just are stuck at an income level and they're not sure how to scale profitably.
Right. And I love you mentioned email marketing, because it's so true. Like last year, I didn't max out on my emails. And I went through a 5-day course, a 5-day challenge. And there was so many women in this challenge that had no idea how to even set up an email autoresponder. So I started to do workshops around email and say, okay, that was a missed opportunity last year. And as an entrepreneur, this is a teaching moment, right? And so, if you're at home and you're watching this live or you're watching the playback and you're an entrepreneur and you have email set up and you're not utilizing your email, this is your sign to start doing so, because there is power in that. But to your point and what you say often, and I've watched a couple of your videos on your page, it's about the value of the messaging that you're putting out. So the same goes with, I would say, email marketing, right? It's the information that's within that email. It's the information that's on your website. It's the information that you're delivering that really changes the game and gives you the conversion, right? So what are your thoughts on, email marketing in terms of the message? And then, if we're talking about someone who has an e-com store, what type of marketing, I would say, like, game plan should they focus on? Is it depending on their product, or is it like a generalized, hey, this is e-com, we're going to go this direction with marketing?
Well, that's really a good question, because it all comes down, it always will come down to the offer, whether it's a product or a service. So with messaging, there's several different ways you can go about putting together your message. Now we're kind of in the golden ages because we have AI, which to me, you should have no excuse not to be, because at bare minimum, if you use a Jasper.ai, I'll give you that software if you guys want, or if you want to use ChatGPT, you can literally say, hey, give me a product description of 15-volt curling iron specifically for women. And it'll generate this for you as a template. You can tweak this. Now I tell people, you could copy paste it, but if it were me, I would tweak that template to fit my brand, how I speak, how the verbiage is on everything else on my website, and I would use that as my description. In email, you can do the same thing. So the biggest mistake I think I see with email is people send out emails and they try to email in a way that does not sound how they talk.
Mm-hmm.
So what happens is people are reading this like they're reading a description on the back of a box or nutrition facts label, whatever, right? So they're just reading it's like boring, monotone. I think storytelling is a great way to email. Case studies is a great way to email. Show somebody using a product that here's where they were before they started using the product. Here's how they look after. Here's how long it took. A good subject line is Casey cleared up her skin in the first 7 days after using the XYZ pack, right? Look inside. And then you look inside, you have a picture before and after. It was only, you tell that brief story, if you need to clear up your skin now, click below. So you're giving social proof of a real person and you're telling a story. It's not going into ingredients. It's not going into all of that. That stuff belongs on the product page where they can read the description and say, okay, here's where I expect to be able to read through these ingredients and see what they are and aren't using. But you have to hook them in to show them ultimately what do they want. Mm-hmm. So if they want clear skin, lead into an email on a person that's gotten that result, and you'll get that person an open rate that's pretty high. So that's one way. Storytelling is really good. The other one is you can do a pure case study, meaning it's simply talking about one person. Okay, yeah, typically it's going to be one person and their journey. So you're talking about, we just talked about one review on before and after. Well, we're talking about journey, step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4. So this is kind of another extended method of what we talked about, but some people will just do before and then after. Some people will do the first 2 weeks, 2 weeks after using XYZ, this happened. Almost a vlog type model where they go into the whole transition. And it's like for weight loss, it'll be like, and now I'm at 5-6 weeks. So you structure these emails week 1 of Casey's journey with XYZ product, right? And then you delay that email to go out week 2 of, all the way till 3 to 4 week, and where they're seeing this incremental progress and they can see that the product is working. So that's another tactic that you can use. If you want to do straight promo, I always say use a ratio rules, meaning of all the number of emails I'm going to send, try not to send more than 25% of your emails that are straight promo, meaning buy me now, like, hey, this is on sale for $25.99. You never want to send that more than 25% of the time. And the reason is, if you do that, people are going to start associating your brand with spam. And so they're just going to start trashing it or putting it in spam. If you provide value in your email, when they see the Imperfect Action show, they're going to look and go, we know what they're talking about today, right? And then if they want to buy something, you can have a soft call to action somewhere, a button below, but you don't have to lead with buy. You lead with enough value, they're going to look to see how they can buy. That's my philosophy, and that's how we email out for our clients. To come up with your post should show value. Humor is another good one. Humor is a really good one. It's a slept on one. Some people go with like viral trends, meaning if it's some type of song, dance associated with that you can tag the product with, they'll go with that as well. That's not really something you can lean on, but it is something you can capitalize off of depending on what's going on in the world at that particular time. So those are like very fundamental templates you can build. And just off of those alone, testimonial emails, case study emails, and brand origin story, that's good too. How did you come up with this product? Why? What's the reasoning behind it? Why is it important? Why it's important to you all? A lot of people get behind causes. So if you say, 10%, that's why 10% of all of our sales go towards the homeless shelter in whatever state or city. that may be important to someone. So giving a little bit of background about why this whole product or brand is important. So I think those three things are very powerful methods of email marketing.
Right. And I love that in terms of brand story, especially if you're e-com, because you have someone coming to your website, they're not walking into your store, right? They're not able to touch and have a conversation with another human for the most part. They can be, on a chat if you have a chat customer service, but you have to be able to create those moments that are personable so you can get the buy-in of the person. Because to be honest, people work for people and people buy from people, right? They don't work for brands and they don't buy from brands anymore. It's just not making things happen. So I love that you said that. And for those who are like, okay, branding versus marketing, what's branding, what's marketing, and how do the two work together to create, a really successful business?
Okay, the way that I look at branding versus marketing is kind of like short-term money versus long-term money. That's how I look at it. So marketing, I'm trying to get a return on investment as quickly as I can so that I can remain in profit. When I'm branding, I'm trying to build a brand or infrastructure image of something that will sustain everything over the horizon of a year, 2 years, 5 years, right? So if you run there's certain type of campaigns you can run that are for reach or for visibility or for engagement. And what I'm trying to do is put impressions on a person. So this is why you see billboards, signs on buses, basketball players with logos on their jerseys. These are all impressions. They're subconscious impressions. So what happens is, let's just say I'm a logo on a jersey and we'll think of a product. What's a good product we could use? I'll let you give me one. Essential water. Let's say I'm Essential Water and I'm all plastered over jersey, or I'm on the warm-ups, right? What happens is, after enough impressions, we don't realize this happens, but if you study it, you'll find this. You'll go to the grocery store down the water aisle, and eventually you'll pick Essential, but you don't know why you picked Essential.
Right.
So what happens is your mind goes, that looks familiar. Try that, right? Or not even, that's just from a direct product stance. But if you do it from an e-commerce stance, after you see the branding and the messaging for a certain period of time, you say, well, let me just click on here and at least watch more of this. Let me see what they have. I keep seeing their ads, right? I go to YouTube, I see the ad. I go to Instagram and I see another ad. I see them on stories. So let me at least, so most customers, unless you have a really, really good offer, but most customers need a few impressions before they buy.
Right.
This is why abandoned carts are so mandatory to me. You have to set up abandoned cart recovery on email and on text. It's if you have an e-commerce store. If you don't, it's basically saying you're literally leaving money on the table, because if we take this to a real world scenario, let's say you're getting your phone out and you're about to buy. You say, oh, I like this product, I'm going to buy this. And let's just assume you're a mother, right? And you get ready to buy and your 3-year-old throws something on the floor. You put the phone down and you go, what are you doing? Da, 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 da. Mm-hmm. And then now you put the phone away. Somebody calls you. You've forgotten that you were on the checkout page. Mm-hmm. So now if you get a text message that comes through, you get a text, hey, I saw you were trying to buy a cotton t-shirt. Did something happen? Here, why don't you take a 10% off discount code before you check out? That gives them the incentive of, oh, yes, I was supposed to finish buying this. So just something that slight, people don't think about real world scenarios of how transactions can get interrupted because there's so much stuff going on every day. And it doesn't mean that somebody doesn't want your stuff because they didn't check out. It's typically they were distracted.
Yeah. And Fashion Nova and Shein, like for my ladies, because I know those are, they're brands for men and women, but I know this is one of the things the ladies always talks about. They are genius when it comes to marketing an abandoned cart, because you can't get away from them. Like you literally will log into their website and have, the pop-up notifications. If you move from the website, they're sending you something in your email right away. It's like incredible how much they put into their marketing. But they're working on billion-dollar companies for a reason. So it's important to have those things set up, like you said. And speaking of marketing in terms of budget, right? Because I remember hearing one marketing expert say you should have an infinite budget when it comes to marketing, meaning like that marketing should not be the area where you're skimming or robbing Peter to pay Paul. Like you want to invest in marketing strategies to increase and be able to scale your business. What are your thoughts in terms of, I'm a new entrepreneur, you know, I'm pushing that 5,500 a month with my product. I know I can do better, but you know, what do I put in my marketing budget? Like, how do I set that up, and what should I look for when it comes to working with someone for marketing strategy?
That's a good question. Well, the first thing I would ask someone like that is kind of going back to what we talked to before was, are you sure you've exhausted every means of generating revenue in your store? Like, are you emailing? What are you doing with your current data and customer base? Now, if you tell me we're already emailing, we're already sending texts out once a week, then okay, yeah, it's probably time to start pushing over into a paid ad platform. Or another thing is, we haven't gotten into this, is you maybe have a perfect product for influencer marketing.
Mm-hmm.
So you may be able to match an influencer with your product that could really spike your sales. One of the things I think people miss with influencer marketing is, yes, you can get an influencer to promote for you your product, and you can get a ton of sales and spike your sales. Where people make a mistake on that is they go get that influencer and run that campaign before they have a pixel on their site, before they have a retargeting ad set up. So what happens is they send out to, let's say 20,000 people, and they get one shot of getting a sale. But, you know, I work with clients, I tell them influencer marketing is great if you want to put aside a budget for that. I said, but don't do any of that until you have tracking and pixels in place. Because now you got this big new group of people that visited your profile, went to your website. You should be able to remarket to them again. Use that traffic, recycle that traffic more than just that one time. So if you're starting out, if you're at that level, the goal, to speak to what you said you heard from a marketer, the goal is to be able to spend more than your competitor. Because if that is the case, you're making more. That's the way marketing works. So if I put $1 in and I get $5 out, I want to spend as much as I have available if I know that's replicated. I can replicate that or duplicate it. Mm-hmm. So if I know I can do that consistently, so if I run an ad and I say, look, we spent $1,000 and made $4,700 a month, then my next goal is, how can we spend $2,500 and get those same returns? Once you do that consistently, then how can we double it again? Right? And there's certain ways that you have to do that, but your goal should never really be to skimp out on marketing. It's kind of funny to me, because when I used to do local businesses like around town, I would work with them, and then they would be so gung-ho about, got to pay a light bill, got to pay the lease, the mortgage, which you do. And I got to get flyers and t-shirts. And I'm like, outside of your lease payment or your mortgage payment and your lights and the utilities, the things that you have to physically be there, the next expense should be marketing. Because I've seen people spend thousands on mugs and water bottles and t-shirts, and then they only want to spend X amount on marketing. The one expense and you're going to be able to write the marketing off anyway.
Right.
So it's going to make you money twice, because that money you spent, you'll be able to write off in taxes if you do it right, and it'll generate you profit. Mm-hmm. So the goal should be able to say, I want to spend more in marketing. But paid advertising does not have to be your only mode of advertising. Brand building, brand integrity are big things, because even as good as all of our technology is, all of our advertising campaign platforms are, there's still nothing better than word of mouth. It's nothing better than word of mouth. If your brand has good integrity and people start talking about it, That's that's where you get to the point where it's like you're Jeff Bezos, where they can't stop you from making money at that point. It's too much of an influence over the culture, and that can even happen locally. So I've seen that happen where in a city or state or side of a city where people they only go to that business for that service. So it's not something that you have to do on a massive level, but I would definitely say building a brand. When I say brand integrity, I don't mean like brands that are just trying to scam you or anything. I mean, like, do you do what you say you're going to do?
Right.
If you say you ship in 7 days, do you actually ship in 7 days? If you say no, if you say refunds are acceptable for these reasons, do you actually give refunds? When you hire, if you hire, do you hire and say these are our rules and principles? Do you actually follow those? Because what happens is people will talk and say, girl, every time I buy from them, I get it like in 2 days. Or I always get my stuff back. Like, people talk. And, being that most of the stores we work with are in industries that probably have 85% women as customers, they're going to talk. And then if something works, they're going to tell their girlfriend, girl, did you try this?
Right.
But if it's bad, then the reverse happens. Don't buy that. Why you buy this? So you have to be mindful of that when you're building your stores, and just know that, hey, you got to have some brand integrity around what you're doing.
For sure. And I know another piece, just to transition a little bit, that you do is systems, right? So SOPs, so standard operating procedures. And for me, I've come across some people who don't even know what that means. Like, what is an SOP? Why is it important, especially if you're looking to scale your business? So I wanted you to speak about that a little bit, because I know on your page you talk about SOPs quite a bit and how important they are in terms of scaling.
Yeah, so that's one of the things that kind of learned through trial and error. The more workload or product you have to fulfill for people, or services you have to fulfill, the more time that it's going to take. What happens when in that scenario is most people go, well, you know what? I do need to hire someone, or do need to get an assistant or a virtual assistant. And they go and say, let's say, I'm going to get Stizzo. I know she can do it, right? And then you get there, you're all happy to go. And then it's like, okay, I'm going to teach you how to do this. You guys sit down and y'all go through how to do this thing. And I leave the next day. And then you're sitting there like, what do you say? What do you say to do again? Yeah. So there's no reference point to go back and see, hey, when you log in, this is the first step. 1, 2, 3, 4. Even if you're not you don't want to type it out, I actually would recommend you do a video, like a screen share video, to where people can just go watch it again. And most of the time, people just need a refresher. So if they forget, they go, let me look at this again. They watch the first minute. Like, oh, yeah, I remember now. So if you have a SOP in place, what it's allowing you to do as a business owner is gradually step away from all of the day-to-day. Not meaning you never have to be there at all, but to be able to say, you know what, I can work in this business 2 hours a day and it still be super profitable if I have the right systems and structure in place. SOPs also allow you, if you have CRMs, to know whether or not somebody completed certain tasks within the week or within the day. So if you have someone virtually working, you tell them, okay, this is what's due on certain days. When it's due, mark it as complete. You're done. Check out. You're done. You can get notifications, and you'll know. At Friday, I can look at my phone and go, oh, everybody's notifications is in. Or one person didn't put a notification and they have a note saying that something went wrong. So now I can manage the workload of the team in one specific spot. And training is the third thing. So if you get one, so let's say you train that one person. I train Stizzo. She comes in, does an amazing job. And we say, okay, well, now we're going to give one more person. So now I come in with this brand new person. If I don't have SOPs, I don't have structure, I have to go through that entire whole manual training process again. And guess what? Even if I do, I'm still going to forget to teach something to them. As opposed to if I have it structured as you, every time I used to work years ago at Walgreens as a cashier. This is like I was 18 and 19, I think. Before you ever get on the floor, you have to go a whole week and go through modules and watch everything, right? But for some reason, entrepreneurs, we start to hire, we think that we don't have to do training and don't have to have documents for some reason. So it's the easiest way for you to scale and have a structure and actually have the same thing. Each person go through the same training every time. It helps with accountability. So everybody went through this, right? You understand this, right? Okay, well then what's the issue? So it helps remove a lot of the I didn't know, or I was confused, or all of these type of things that can go on. And it just, honestly, a good employee will thank you for having SOPs.
Mm-hmm.
They're like, man, this helps me so much. I feel comfortable. You know, if I had 2 employees and let's say if it was Stizzo, you got sick and said, hey, I can't work today. I don't feel good. Can I have Amy take over? Amy can jump right in, go to your SOPs, go to your desk and see what she should be doing, just kind of go through the same thing. At least she'd be able to get through them without there being a 4-alarm fire. And now Mr. Business Owner has to stop what they're doing and come back in and put out the fire.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's no instruction. So that's why I really push SOPs. It's a pain to do them initially, but you only have to do it once.
Right.
If you go ahead and knock it out, get it done right the first time, it's going to save you a load of time in the long run. So
right.
That's why I'm really big on SOPs. I hope that answered the question.
It did. And I was going to say, in terms of time, that's a major thing, especially for entrepreneurs. Like, time is everything when it comes to running a business. Like, every moment that you spend on a project, the return that you're getting on that time invested matters. And so if you create an SOP and you have something in place where people can just come in, get the training, you don't have to do it yourself, you're moving a lot faster. Your business is growing even faster because, one, to your other point, your employees are going to be happier that they have a resource. They have somewhere to go if they can't get to you directly. They're going to use word of mouth, share that with someone they know, potentially get you another person hired in that's of value. So now you're adding to your team value and you're also doing it faster. So it's important to have systems in place so that you can get to a point where you can make the money that you need to make in order to sell the business at whatever point you want to sell it and walk away from it. But that's one big thing for entrepreneurs. If you walk away from your business today and you can't make a sale, do you really have a business or do you still have a hobby? Right? Because you want to be able to step away and not feel guilty about having to leave it or having to go to a baby shower or a friend's birthday without thinking, okay, did I send out that email? No, it's on auto. It's already going. It's done. So that's really key and really important, factor. So I appreciate you saying that. So what tips or what other advice would you like to give to the audience? Someone who's watching, they have their e-com business. They're like literally on their computer probably right now, looking at their products, looking at their marketing on their website. And they're like, I know I can do better. What tips would you give and how can everyone find you?
Good question. Well, I'm going to piggyback off of what you said and I'm going to give them some tips.
Absolutely.
So to piggyback what you said, that I kind of say the natural progression from people I've known, people I've seen, even some myself, is you become an entrepreneur, you start a business. The first thing you want to do is buy the things you need, the things you want. Once you've done that enough, you're going to want to buy the time you need and time you want. So you might as well structure yourself for that in the beginning, because if you become successful with that business, the next thing you're going to want is time. I see it happen with clients. They become very successful, and then okay, well, I'm working I'm still doing 9 hours in business, but I just made $30,000. I don't really have time to go on vacation right now. So then the next thing they want to do is buy the ability to have time back. So if you start your business with the structure of, let me just build SOPs, systems, a flow chart, Let me just build it out right. Even with the e-commerce store, I know people thinking, why would I have a flow chart? No, you have a flow chart. It's not hard to make. You can go to Lucid Chart, Google Lucid Chart, very easy to make. And this will allow you to see, you'll visually see, oh, this is how my business works from front end to the back end, right? And then if this happens, then do this. If this doesn't happen, do that. If you don't know how to make a flow chart, you can go to Fiverr and get somebody to make you a flow chart. You can literally send them a voice file, tell them how your business works. When this happens, this happens. When this happens, and they'll create a flow chart for you. So there's really no excuse not to do it unless you're not being intentional or you don't know to do it. So that would be one of my first tips to any e-commerce is approach it like an actual business. Like even if you were buying a building or a store or a corner store, approach it like that. Look at how you approach sales, order fulfillment, customer service. Divide up how you want to handle all of those things. Take 2 or 3 days to do that, and then go back to your product. Now I'm talking to kind of newer owners. If you've been around longer, you already know your product, your audience. You're just trying to scale. So, but my thing is, you don't tell me this all about. Everybody wants to scale when they're at a certain level, and I'm like, okay, are you sure you're ready to scale though? Because it's true story. I helped a lady with the campaign that was on I think it was Labor Day. We started on Labor Day. She was a new client, and I was like, Labor Day is coming up. She's like, I really want to do good Labor Day. I was like, okay. And then I was like, well, you're good. Can you handle orders? Like, yeah. So we ran this campaign for Labor Day. Got like 160 something orders in 24 hours, something crazy like that. She was up till 6 a.m. in the morning fulfilling orders. So this is because she was the only person that she had to do it. But not just that, she couldn't get anybody else to help because they didn't know how to do it, and she had no way to show them how to do it. So now you're stuck in the driver's seat. So I would very much advise people to do that. If you have an existing e-commerce business, if you're in the skincare, cosmetic, fashion industry, you can reach out to me at The Real Steve on Instagram, or you can email me at support@wegrowyourbrand.com, and we will get you information on how you can get started. We can let you know how to apply to qualify and see if we'd be a good fit to work with you. That's how to work with me on the e-commerce side. If you are someone that's looking to get into done-for-you style e-commerce, so you want an Amazon store, maybe a Facebook store created for you where you can generate anywhere from $500 to $2,500 a month, you can reach out to me, same place on Instagram or email. Just type in Amazon DFY. You'll get a response back. So we have it programmed to, once you email that to us, we'll get you a response back. But that's basically how you can get in contact with me on Instagram. My entire Instagram is just a wealth of information. I share value and a little bit of lifestyle stuff, but mostly value. So I want people to go to Instagram to learn something so that you take something away from following me. So hopefully you guys will found some value in what we're talking about today.
Absolutely. Great value. And I have a question from the community. It's actually Brenton. Let's see if this will come up here. What's the number one thing that entrepreneurs and business owners just simply forget to take care of?
That's a good question. The number one thing, I would, if we exclude SOPs, I would probably say the structure of the business. Mm-hmm. So most people will just grab an LLC. They won't think about they need a business bank account, how many accounts, they need to account for taxes, cash reserves, how to structure the actual business. Are they structuring the business to where they'll be able to get funding in 6 months? Are they anticipating how much they'll have to pay in taxes if they make X amount of money? So the general structure of the business, I think all business owners and entrepreneurs, that's the number one thing that they don't think of, that foundation. It's like you get the idea, and I've been guilty of this in the past too. You get the idea, you know the idea is going to work. You just get the LLC so you can get it running. Let's go. Mm-hmm. So I can get the cash coming in. But it might do you, it will do you some good to sit down with either a business advisor or CPA or someone who's been either in funding, even if you don't want funding right now, you can there's people who can sit down with you and say, hey, if you structure your business this way, if you need funding in 6 months, even though you have all this money sitting in liquid, you don't need to touch that money. You can go use the bank's money, right, or you can go use the credit union's money, right? And actually go and use that to what you were talking about, your ad spend, being able to spend an excess amount of money. If I start my business today, structure it right, and I get to the point where in 6 months, I'm ready to scale. Well, I can go to this bank and get $85,000 or $100,000 worth of funding with the business credit or business funding. I can attach that to my social media ads, and now I can run ads at $200, $300, $400 a day at profit.
Right.
I'm not touching my profits that I worked so hard for. So I would say that'd probably be the number one thing.
And that's valuable. That's valuable because people do just start, and it is great to just start, but make sure you have a structure, a system in place so that you're not backpedaling. And Steve, this is awesome. We went over the normal imperfect action time, but it was all valuable information. I'm glad that we did. Again, we'll put the links in the description so you know where to find Steve on Instagram @TheRealSteve_. Appreciate you for being here and adding some value in the marketing and SOP space. It was much needed. I learned a lot, so I got some great takeaways. Awesome. And I'm sure the audience did as well. So thank you so much for this episode. Much love, and we'll see you on the next episode of the Imperfect Action Show, everybody.
Thank you.